Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our April edition of our Startup Resources series for Kentucky. And of course, this is for all of our innovation hubs as well as the various entrepreneurial support organizations across the state. Welcome to this month's edition. I'm very excited for our guest speaker today. And I'm Lisa Bajornis. I'm Executive Director of the Kentucky Innovation Hubs with KSTC. And of course, we're joined by our partners at the Cabinet for Economic Development, known as Team Kentucky KY Innovation, as we produce this each month for you. For those of you that are series subscribers, of course, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you that are new to the series, we also welcome you. We are here every third Tuesday of the month at 11 o'clock Eastern Time with a new topic that we hope is quite valuable for all of you in your entrepreneurial support work across the state. Quick rundown of our agenda today. I've got just a few upfront reminders and announcements to share with you. We are fortunate to have David Brock with us, who will give us a cabinet update. And then we will jump right into today's topic. And we have our hub highlight today featuring Amplify, and we'll close it out with an event rundown of upcoming events and programs. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. And again, thank you for joining us all. Just a reminder that you know that you can always go back to recordings of our past Startup Resources series webinars. They're on the kstc.com website. Click on Initiatives. You'll click on Innovation Hubs, and then just scroll down. You'll see the full library of the past year's worth of our Startup Resources series. You're welcome to view those, and they've all been now converted over to YouTube. So they have new recording links for you. And you all got here, so you all know that we are using a new link in order to access this webinar. If any of our friends at various ESOs across the state perhaps are not here that you're aware of, there is a new link for this particular series. So everyone does need to re-register for the series using that new link. So we hope we haven't lost anybody along the way. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Brock, of course, Executive Director over at the Cabinet for the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation for a Cabinet update. Good morning, David.
Good morning. Thank you, Lisa. Great to be here and excited to have everyone here. It's been an outstanding quarter for innovation in the state. Looking forward to a great end of our fiscal year for all of the activities that our partners work on alongside of us. And I'm looking forward to today because it's a great topic about new tools and infrastructure that ESOs can use to serve all of the startups and innovators we all work with better. And then I'm really looking forward to our update from our Louisville hub, Greater Louisville Amplify. So make sure that you stay around for all of that. As I mentioned, it's been an outstanding quarter from the standpoint of our hubs. We've served over 800 startups, made over 450 connections. And that is a really important metric for us, and one that I really like to drill down into, because that's where a lot of the value comes from. The work that they do and the work that a lot of you do with ESOs, is whether it's a connection to capital or a connection to customers. That is really the catalytic value of this program, where our hubs can introduce companies and unlock doors for them that they may not even have known existed. And so always happy to look at that and see what that represents. And then over $31 million in investment attracted to companies that have been served by our hubs. And so that is a number that we know is not a direct correlation always with work that has been done by the hubs, but almost every dollar of that is connected in some way to the work that our hubs do with companies. So encouraging to see that. I wanted to give just a brief overview to the extent that I can coming out of the legislative session. They had a long session this year, so it's a budget year. There is still some uncertainty about the budget for that flows through our office, our general fund budget, and we fund a lot of the programs that we discuss on this webinar and that we partner with our hubs on. But the legislature approve funding for a number of things. And I won't go into all of those in detail, but you're going to start as we figure out what some of that looks like in the coming months. And probably the next quarterly meeting that I'm on, or the next monthly meeting I'm on at the end of the next quarter, I'll be able to give you more information. But over $25 million in funding will go to innovation-related initiatives. And that will include additional early stage investment capital, money for a dedicated life sciences fund, and funding to establish some new pilots and programs that will hopefully support entrepreneurs in our hubs across the state. And so that's exciting to see, but more to come on that. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that there is good news coming out of the legislative session for innovators and innovation, and look forward to getting into that in more detail in the coming months. Another piece of good news, the SBIR program was reauthorized at the federal level. And so that is something that's been in the offing for a long time, and what we've been tracking that carefully. Many of you probably know of SBIR companies or potential SBIR companies. Of course, the cabinet administers an SBIR matching funds program. We did not stop that in the interim, but this was a long pause in the program. And so it is very encouraging to see that getting rolling again at the federal level. For the purposes of our matching fund program, the window for applications for the spring round runs through April 27th. And so if you work with any companies that are interested, they have a federal award from a previous funding round, and they're interested in applying, I will drop the link to the SBIR page that has the application in the chat when I'm done in just a second, so that you can look at that. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about that or anything else. I will also put our email address in the chat. Short and sweet, Lisa.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate the legislative update, and that's great news. More than $25 million being invested in the work that we do across the state. Appreciate that.
Before I move on, I
Yes.
forgot one important legislative bullet here. So many of you are probably aware of the grant program. That's an acronym for a state program that matches federal grant awards. And that has been running for a few years. They did reauthorize that program. And that program, of course, runs through our cabinet. So if anybody has applied for federal grants or considering federal grant applications, that program is reauthorized, and there are $50 million in each year of the biennium upcoming additional. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that as well.
Awesome. I know many of our innovation hubs and ESOs are looking at researching, determining federal grant opportunities to augment their budgets in support of entrepreneurship across the state. And so definitely another program at the state level to take advantage of in order to increase that budget. So good reminder. Thank you so much, David. Appreciate that. And now we're getting into the really, really good topic for today. So this is one that we have been talking about briefly. I know that we have many of our tech and tech-enabled startup clients that are utilizing artificial intelligence in one of two ways. They're either using it in their solutions that they're working to commercialize in the marketplace, either in a method that will augment their operations, their workflows, their internal processes in order to deliver a better product and service into the market, or they're utilizing artificial intelligence directly into the solution that they're building to commercialize into the market. So we know that we talk about this often with our startup clients, with the founders that we support. But it's also important to know that for the work that we all do as innovation hubs, as ESOs, entrepreneurial support organizations, there are absolutely sources and solutions of AI and digital tools for us to be taking advantage of as well. And some of those practical uses and ways in which we can make access of those AI tools really can enable us to strengthen the storytelling, the narrative that we're putting out there into the community, the marketing of the work and the support that we are providing to our startup clients. And ultimately, these tools can help all of us with even better data-driven decision making as we go forward. So I will stop sharing as we bring Dr. Jason William Johnson forward. Good morning. How are you? You are muted.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, and we can see your slides.
Perfect.
And just by way of introduction, I was so very fortunate to be able to attend last week, and actually with Larry Horn and some others from the Louisville region, the IMBA conference. So this is the International Business Innovation and Acceleration Organization. It is geared for ESOs. It is geared for professionals like us that are in this particular space, that are ecosystem builders. And as Larry likes to say, and I know he'll mention again, this is finally the place where we can go and everybody understands what it is that we do. I was very fortunate to get to meet Dr. Johnson there, gave a wonderful talk for all of the attendees on this very subject. And I immediately was in his face afterwards saying, have I got an audience for you? And all of us need to hear the great information that Dr. Johnson has to share. So without further ado, I am so pleased to introduce you all to Dr. Jason Johnson, who's going to talk to us a little bit about specifically AI and digital tools, specifically for ESOs and our innovation hubs. So with that, Jason, I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm excited to be here. Lisa, it was a pleasure to meet you. I love those type of conferences because you get a chance to nerd out with everybody because everybody's doing similar work and everything. So it was just a pleasure. So a little bit about myself, Dr. Jason William Johnson. I only use my middle name because there's another Dr. Jason Johnson out there who does like political commentary. And I get like a lot of Twitter and like Instagram, like strays sent in my direction because of him. And we're both bald Black guys. So like I throw my middle name in there for that reason. But pretty much I have this, like as Liam Neeson would say, I have this particular set of skills that I've developed over a long career where, I kind of combine research, business insights, and music and creativity to kind of educate entrepreneurs, to build curriculum, et cetera, et cetera. So a little bit about myself. Got a TEDx talk that has about 60,000 views called 4 Lessons That Hip Hop Taught Me About Business Leadership. I'm a faculty member for Experiential Classroom, which is a clinic for entrepreneurship professors to help them become better, at teaching entrepreneurship. So I've been doing that with Dr. Michael Morris at Notre Dame. They have it annually now at Florida State University since 2019. I do a lot of research. I'm particularly interested in research around AI and the psychology of it in particular, because I think everybody talks about tools and skills, but not enough people are talking about what does this mean as AI is disrupting society? Like, what does this mean for us psychologically? So I do a lot of research on that, as well as future of work and then agentic AI for small business support. Currently founder of 2 companies, SoundStrategies, which is a e-learning agency that works with training providers to help them transform their training through agentic AI, gamification, and music. Prior to launching Sound, and then we also have a platform called ENA Intelligence, which is an economic development platform for small business support orgs. Prior to that, though, I was in you guys' world. So I was the vice president of entrepreneurship and innovation for the Chicago Urban League for close to a decade, leading those programs and those initiatives. And then also after I left the Urban League, I was a director at Next Street. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with it, economic development consultancy specifically focused on ecosystem-wide strategies to support small businesses. So, been in you guys' seat, been in a seat that advises the people that give y'all the money. So really, really always excited whenever I get a chance to connect with ESOs. And then last but not least, I'm a recording artist. I've been doing music since I was a child. So I use hip hop to teach entrepreneurship, have a curriculum of over 30 songs. And that's one of the things. I usually have a song to start off a module to start off, but I don't have a song specifically about using AI for ESOs. So maybe next time I see you guys, I'll have a song for you guys. But I also do that. So let's go ahead and get into the conversation. So I always like to start with the psychology, right? Because I think it's critical to kind of position ourselves in this moment that we're in with AI. So from what I've seen, and I'm currently working on a paper on this, there's 3 mindsets around AI. There's a victim mindset, a scarcity mindset, and an opportunity mindset. And I'll talk about each, right? So with the victim mindset, it's like AI is happening to me. Like, I don't want it. I hate that it exists. I'm going to rebel against it. I'm going to complain about it. It's just ruining my life, right? And the problem is when you have a victim mindset around AI, whether it's warranted or not, you're going to create learned helplessness. So you're not going to adapt, you're not going to learn, you're not going to evolve. And I'm talking about at the individual and the organizational level, right? Then there's the scarcity mindset, whereas AI is a chore that you have to do. So it's something that you feel like it's something that you're open to doing, but it's more to stay relevant. It's because I don't want to lose my job, or I don't want to lose, market share. But and whenever we're doing something that's a chore, it becomes laborious and it becomes something that it's difficult to engage with, right? So that's the second mindset, the scarcity mindset. If I don't learn AI, I'm going to lose something. And then the third mindset is the opportunity mindset, which is hopefully by the end of this conversation, the one that everybody ends up adopting, even if they're currently in one of the other slots. And it's like, how do we use AI to grow, right? Don't say how do we use it to improve efficiency? How do we use it to connect better with clients? How do we use it to, to maybe, scale our impact? So thinking about how can I use AI, right? And I think that's the healthiest mindset to have, because whenever we're faced with something that's uncertain, the quickest way to get comfortable with it is to learn about it. And to, and as you learn about it, the unknown becomes known, and then you can figure out how to position yourselves. So as you're thinking about your organizations, I want you to think about how you can kind of position your organization to have an opportunity mindset around AI. And hopefully this conversation kind of starts helping with that. So there's 2 types of AI that I think everybody, everybody's familiar with. And I think there's one that people might have heard of, but they don't really understand the implications, right? So there's generative AI, which I think everybody's familiar with using. So think about the traditional way that you use ChatGPT. You give it you ask a question, you give it a prompt, and it gives you an answer, be it a text, be it, a document, be it, an image or a video or whatever, right? But you're typically doing one task at a time, and it requires your direction. It requires you to create like these elaborate prompts and things of that nature, right? So I think everybody's familiar with that form of AI, right? Almost like a brilliant intern that you reach out to, that you text or that you email with, right? And it makes things, it might allow us to get a little bit more productivity as far as moving faster, right? But it doesn't really help with capacity as much as it should, right? And that's where agentic AI comes in. And that's AI that takes action autonomously. And it's the closest thing that we've had to having a non-human team member. Because, once you give it a task, it can plan, it can decide, and it can execute. It can chain multiple tasks together. It can work across different tools and platforms, where traditional generative AI, you're only working in ChatGPT or Claude. Whereas with generative AI, you can start a conversation in ChatGPT or Claude, and now it's doing things in Notion for you. It's doing things in your CRM for you and a variety of other different things, right? And, pretty much these things are getting to the point where you're needing less and less oversight. Like you literally go watch an episode of Bridgerton or whatever. You're not supposed to be doing that on the clock though, but you go watch your favorite television show and you come back to a deliverable, right? And you may need to scrutinize it and, tell them to go back to the drawing board, but you come back to a completed deliverable, right? Which is something that we weren't able to do before. So it opens up possibilities as far as buying back capacity, especially with ESOs, because we all know, pretty much funding is always something that like is a bottleneck that limits the ability to build your capacity, your scale, things of that nature. So a lot of times you got folks, working in ESOs doing several things at once. It's almost like you're in a startup, right? So like, how do we get that capacity back so that we can better support, the businesses that depend on us? And agentic AI is one of those things. But one of the things that I always say with agentic AI, and Lisa, you guys are getting the extended version because I only had 7 minutes in the last presentation. So I can go into a couple of things I didn't have a chance to go into. But one of the reasons that most AI projects fail is because people don't take enough time to think about their standard operating procedures, right? They feel like AI, once we get AI, then we can, we'll be more efficient. But what happens is agentic AI makes an inefficient system even more inefficient, right? Because it's scaling your inefficiency. So if you don't have an efficient system and efficient processes to start with, then all it's going to do is scale what you already have. So if it's inefficient, it's going to scale your inefficiency. If you have an efficient system, it's going to scale that efficiency. So one of the things that you want to think about I skipped the slide. I'm gonna start right here though before I go to that one. One of the things you want to think about is how do you document all your processes, even the things that live in people's heads, right? Because just like startups, a lot of ESOs, we have people who've been there for several years and they develop institutional knowledge, but it's not documented. And then they leave and it's like a big old hole, right? I've lived that. I've had that. You have somebody who's been in their role for a minute. You just assume they're going to be there and then, they leave for whatever odd reason. And then you have to figure that out. So you want to document those processes, right? All of the things that you're doing. And this is just good practice. This is just best practices anyway. We tell businesses to do that, even though we don't always do it, right? But you want to document your processes. You want to standardize your steps. You want to identify your bottlenecks. And then once you do that, you're ready to integrate AI because now you have a clear understanding of, okay, this is something that a human needs to continue to do, right? This is something that we can automate, right? This is something where we can maybe be able to get some additional efficiencies. Now you can have an intelligent analysis of where you should be plugging in, where can some efficiencies be gained, and all of those different things. So you want to make sure that you really, really document what needs to be done. And you can use AI to help you with this too, which is great, but you need to document your processes before you start any AI automation project. Because you have a lot of people out there who will say, well, I'm an AI expert, and they may know how to string together some automations for you. And they may be very good technically, but they don't know your business. They may not know your business model. So as a result of that, they only can automate what you give them. So you want to make sure you give them really, really, really good, clear, directives. Everything's clear and everything, all that. And then you can start thinking about automating. So let me go back to this slide. So why does agentic AI matter for ESOs? It's because, you have a lot of us have small teams, right? So this allows you to punch above your weight class. So imagine having a situation where you can do 24/7 client intake. That's possible with agentic AI, where you outside of work hours, you can have an AI powered intake coordinator that's able to take calls, triage them, maybe even provide some lightweight business coaching, depending on how well you set up the system. Automated workflows, right? Taking things that you have to do manually, where traditionally you have to take a paper intake form, you gotta, or you have to take an intake form, take that information, upload it into your CRM, and then do this, and then email the client, and send them the welcome package, and all of this and all that. Imagine that being automated. Imagine being able to really help business owners who are kind of shut out of the ecosystem because of language barriers, right? Being able to provide some level of support to them, be it with an AI powered coach or something, right? Where you can provide some value to them where traditionally they might have been shut out due to, language barriers. Making better decisions, right? Like having a single source of truth where AI can analyze things and maybe find insights you may not be aware of, right? That's now possible. Scaling without hiring, right? Because we know, a lot of times, it's great when ARPA drops, right? Or like a large government initiative drops that increases funding, but a lot of times, how can you scale without adding that additional head count, right? So, AI allows us to do that, agentic AI. And then just helping with professional deliverables like proposals, impact reports, and all of those different things. So I want to share a couple different tools that may be beneficial for ESOs. I'm probably going to finish well before the 30 minutes, and we can use that time for question and answer if needed. But the first one that I love is 11 Labs. So 11 Labs, you can use this in a multiple different. So 11 Labs has two components. They have like a creative studio, which is where they do, because they were started off as a voice cloning startup. So, people clone voices. They have like thousands of stock voices, which can be beneficial for a podcast and things like that. But maybe about a year and some change ago, they launched their voice agents. So since they had the best voices, all of the agent platforms were using their voices for their platform. So they're like, we just launched our own agent platform, right? So their voice agent platform is really, really, really good. And it allows you to do some really good things out of the box. Out of the box, you can, connect it to a hotline, a phone number. And then if you give it a good system prompt, give it like your intake information or things like that, you can use that to be an intake coordinator, because then you can even give it like phone numbers to like of actual human members of your team, where it can send people to those numbers, right? Or you can even connect your Calendly API to it, or your Calendly to it, where, okay, if you have team members that have, appointments, the AI can have a conversation with the new person who's coming into the program, and then refer them to the right business coach or things like that. So depending on what your workflow is, and that's why it's important to document those things on the front end, you can like plug this in as some sort of human component to provide guidance and support. It can even provide business coaching, so as well, right? If you give it the proper insight and guidance, guardrails and all of those things. So 11 Labs is a really, really transformative tool to provide support to small businesses. Another thing that can be valuable with 11 Labs also is the fact, if you have any voice-based content, maybe you have videos that need, that you're using to promote your center, right? That need voiceover or things like that. 11 Labs, if you go to the creative studio in 11 Labs, that's really, really valuable, because they have like thousands of stock voices that sound lifelike, but then you can also clone your own voice, which is pretty cool, right? Where maybe, it has to come from Lisa. So we can clone Lisa's voice, and then Lisa can do the voiceover, right? And then Lisa can speak in Spanish. She can speak in Portuguese and all of those different things, because you're able to translate voices across all, over like, I think like 120 languages. So 11 Labs is a really, really powerful tool. The creative studio and the voice agents for ESOs. Another tool I want to mention that I didn't put a chance in the slide deck, but I know it was referenced. I think Aaron referenced it at the conference, was HeyGen. HeyGen is another tool, but it's a video avatar tool. You can clone yourself, but they also got thousands of clone, they have hundreds of clone like avatars you can use. But this could be great for your social media content if you're not comfortable on the camera and things like that. Or if you have courses that's online, like, you can use HeyGen to clone instructors. So in our instructional design practice, we use HeyGen, because we do instructional design for ESOs, but for some reason healthcare loves us. We've been doing a whole lot in healthcare, and then we've been doing a whole lot in corporate learning. But a lot of our clients, we'll clone their instructor, their subject matter expert, and and then we use 11 Labs for the voice. And then, we clone, and then we deliver their whole curriculum, just using it. And they only get on camera for like 5 minutes. So like, those are some of the possibilities. If you've been thinking about, oh, we need to put our programming online, but we don't have the time to do it, with like HeyGen and like 11 Labs, these tools allow you to do that. And then some other tools that can be really, really valuable. Lindy is a favorite of mine. Lindy is like the evolution of make.com and like and some of these other tools. So they've made a slight pivot where after OpenClaw release, for those who aren't familiar, OpenClaw is like this new AI assistant that everybody's been raving about. Like their agents got their own social media, their own social site. It's been madness. But they added like a AI assistant that uses Lindy, that texts you and everything. And I use it. It's a really valuable tool. But the heart of their business originally, they still offer it, is these automation agents, right? So with Lindy, you can quickly and easily set up email automations because it doesn't require you to know anything like JSON strings and things like that, things that you need to know for like Make or like Zapier, or even like with N8N, right? You can do these automations in natural language. And what's cool about Lindy is, due to the fact that it's agentic, if the automation breaks, it's self-healing. So it'll figure out what other tools to call to still get the automation to work. So it's a really, really, really good tool to use. So with Lindy, you can start doing like step-by-step sequences. So let's say you have an intake form on your website. Client completes the intake form. You can have a Lindy agent monitoring the intake form. The intake form goes to the Lindy agent. The Lindy agent sends a warm email to the client, welcoming them to the program. You can even have it where the Lindy agent does a quick search of them online. And I've done this with like programs that I've designed, where literally intake form will come in, or the application form will come in. The agent would do a quick search of them online and send a very personalized email to them. And people are like, how did you know this about me? And how did you find this out so fast, right? And then after it, log it into your CRM. So if your CRM has an API that can integrate with it, so if you're using something like HubSpot and Salesforce, you definitely have an API you can connect it to. So now these multi-step processes that used to take manual time and labor all can be handled autonomously. You just look up and you look in your CRM and you see a new client in there. And then when the intake form's completed, is logged, they've already got an initial outreach. Maybe they even got an appointment. They got a link to schedule an appointment with a coach, or et cetera, et cetera. So these things that used to take multi-step processes, like step-by-step, that you got to do manually. The grunt work that we hate doing, that's necessary, where you prefer to be working directly with clients, now you can do that with like a tool like Lindy AI. And there's other tools out there, but Lindy's like my personal favorite just because of the simplicity. And then Claude Code is like a really, really, really good tool. So Anthropic, around November of last year, the AI models got a lot better, which made this whole agentic revolution possible. So people were using Claude Code, which is like their coding harness. They found out that people were using Claude Code for a bunch of stuff that wasn't the typical use case. So it's a coding agent, but people were using it to do their taxes. People were using it to create spreadsheets. People were using it to create all type of things, right? So they were like, what if we just made something that was directly for that, for knowledge work? So then they created Claude Code, which is basically an agentic tool that lives on your computer that does work for you. So literally it can access the folders and files on your desktop. It can, or one of the things that people always do when they first get it is have to organize their desktop. And it's just crazy how fast it does it, because it'll like look at your desktop, it'll organize it, and then it'll give it a whole system, and then it'll let you know how it organized things. Well, that's the first thing people always do when they get Claude Code. But after that, you can have it create documents for you. Then it can even use your browser, and let's say it can't access something via API or search, like, because a lot of like CRMs may not have an API or anything. If you can show it once how to do it, and it literally, when it's time to input like data, you can tell it to input data. It will open your Chrome browser, it will log in, and then it will enter the client data into your CRM for you. So like literally the possibilities are endless. It can connect to all of your, anything that has an API or MCP, which are like the two ways that agents connect to software. It can do it, right? It's just the only thing that's limited is your imagination. Like I've literally had it. I needed to do like some deep research on things. I've literally had it go do research, give me a document summary with all of the cited, everything in APA format, because you got to have it in APA format, and then like an initial like brief, and it's done it for like in 15 minutes. Things that would take me weeks, it does it in 15 minutes. I know I have a client that we've like created these Claude Cowork skills for, and that's another thing Claude Cowork can do. You can create these skills, which are basically like the work that you do. It can remember how to do that work, and then you could just invoke that skill futuristically, and it automatically does it. So I had one client we helped. She does like healthcare equity recruitment, like helping like minority get into like clinical trials. So literally, it would take her weeks to do a project as far as the initial ecosystem mapping. She could do it in an hour now, just using Claude Code and the skills that we built for her. So the possibilities with Claude Cowork as far as getting like knowledge work done fast and accurate is endless. Like, so that's another tool I would highly recommend. And this could be the tool that you use for your daily grunt work, like your notes, those things like that. So one of the things that we wanted to do, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'm not trying to sell, I'm just trying to provide value. But we have a ecosystem intelligence platform that we built called ENA, because we recognize that small bit like that a platform specifically for ESOs didn't exist, so we built it. So on the front end, it's an AI coaching platform. It provides coaching to small businesses. It does resource navigation, so you can even program in who your partners are, and it can do smart referrals and all of those different things. But on the back end, it's an intelligence dashboard. So each conversation that the agent has with business owners are anonymized and aggregated, and it provides you with insights on how to better support small businesses. You can ask ENA about the data, about specific client issues, and she can provide support and guidance and like help your advisors prepare before they actually see clients. She can generate ecosystem reports and a variety of other things. But definitely, something that we're really excited about. We've been doing some small pilots with organizations, but just something to make you guys aware of. But and then also for those who are like nerds who want to learn more, we wrote a white paper on agentic AI for small business support, what the possibilities are. So definitely you can feel free to check that out as well. But I'll just open it up to questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason. Let's see, Tori, do we have questions from anyone that are in the chat? And while you're looking at that, Jason, thank you so much for giving us kind of a nice comparison of various different platforms, what their features and capabilities are, how they would actually work within the ESO work that we do working with startup clients, how this can make life a lot easier. And the fact, that you have even built your own platform as well. So let's see. There is a question, what sort of business coaching is ENA capable of?
Across the board. Like, so pretty much we trained her to be business agnostic. I've been a business coach for 20 years. So like those best practices on how to engage, we gave her some emotional intelligence as far as how to interact. I remember one time we were like building her, I was on the way to Notre Dame to do a speaking engagement, and a car almost hit me. It was like one of those blizzard days, and I almost got hit. And I was like, oh my God. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I almost got hit by a car. She was like, do you need to call me back and gather yourself? I'm like, no, I'm fine. So we made her, she's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So, and then we continued the conversation. But because one of the things that we also recognize with businesses, if they can't reach anyone like during office hours and they call this, they might be in a desperate space where they need some support, some guidance, and they need some emotional intelligence. So we tried to build that into the platform as well.
Mm.
But it can do business coaching across the board. It can look up resources in that particular market. We can program resources from your particular market in where it can make those recommendations for those referrals and a variety of other different things.
Right. Okay. And then a question is, what level of customization do you potentially offer for ENA?
We can do a completely white label version of the agent where we can change the voice, we can change the persona, we can clone one of your instructors. If you have an instructor that has a really good rapport with your clients, we can do that. So there's a lot of flexibility in how we can customize ENA.
Okay, cool. And then finally, we'll take this last question. You mentioned a cloning platform for creating video of a person. We did get to see that at the IMBA conference. If you might be able to drop the website URL
I dropped
for
it
that
in.
platform.
Hey,
Thank you.
Jenn,
Hey, Jenn, there it is.
One of my favorite platforms. You will go in there,
Yes.
you will have a blast with it. It's so fun.
And we got to see that in person, the clone, the avatar for the person, and speaking in so many other languages, which was really cool. Yeah.
Which really
Awesome.
helps
That can
with
really
like reaching
expand
business
support
owners.
services for our international founders, especially. Very cool. Jason, thank you so much for sharing your time, your expertise, all of the research with our many ESOs and our innovation hubs throughout Kentucky. We hope that we now have a nice bridge to you, and we will certainly have an opportunity if you're willing to share your slides with our attendees after.
Oh, absolutely. I'll shoot those over to you, Lisa. And thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate and value the work that you guys are doing. It's super critical. So just keep on grinding, keep on doing it, and leverage AI to make it a little easier.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
All right, everybody, have a great day.
All right. We are going to move right along, and Tori is going to go ahead and bring up Larry Horn, of course, co-founder, CEO, executive director of our Amplify Innovation Hub in the Louisville region. They represent 12 counties, all the way from the Louisville area down to Elizabethtown. Good morning, Larry. How are you?
Hey, friends. How's it going?
Doing great.
I love that conversation.
What is happening in Amplify?
Well, first, I love that conversation with Dr. Johnson, and I must have missed him and his thing. And I always like to tell people, if you've seen a video of me in the last year, it was used. I built that on Hey Jenn, because to his point, I despise doing videos, and so yes, that's been a part of it.
Oh, good to know.
And was using Claude Cowork in the background to do literally 5 jobs while I was listening.
I have no
But no, thank you, Lisa. Let me share my screen. And it's for all those, to Lisa's point, when Lisa mentioned NBIA, this global organization, I am on the board. Be happy to talk to anybody about joining. It really is the practitioner for practitioners. And so, I will say it, Lisa, every time I go to those conferences, I'm like, it is such a sigh of relief when I can just go straight into the good, bad, and uglies, or the, what is it, the rose thorns, whatever that is that people like to talk about at those events. So if you are interested in learning more, please reach out to me. It was a wonderful plug that I wasn't expecting. So perfect. All right, friends. So as Lisa mentioned, my name is Larry Horn. I am the current executive director of Amplify, and I'm excited to share a little bit about what we've been working on for the last 6 months and really what's coming up next. So as Lisa mentioned, for us, we serve as a regional connector and catalyst. I won't read all of this, but essentially what we try to do, and I say this every time, is we are air traffic controllers to the resources that exist in our area, regionally and nationally. We act as business coaches, working with, venture-backed, tech-enabled companies, and anywhere from ideation to that first growth stage round. And I like to say, really, one of our key jobs is we're a therapist for a lot of our founders, because if you're on this call, and you have started your own business, it's hard, very, very hard. What we're excited about what we've done over the last many years is really built out that platform, both technically, but then also with our ambassadors and support groups in our community to support those founders, because it does take a village to make this work. Again, Lisa's point, stole some of my thunder. So this is our service area. We cover 12 counties. That represents about 27% of the state's population, and a little bit over around 1.2 million residents. We've been obviously doing a lot of this work in Louisville since Amplify was created, and really spent a lot of time in many of the other counties around us, kind of forging those relationships, building out more resources, understanding access, and then tying those all together. So first, I want to kind of celebrate a little bit of what's happened over the last 6 months. This is just a snapshot of some of the things that we have been trying to celebrate over that time. First, we have Ben Reno-Weber, who many of us know, started his company, Essential Innovations. They were recently accepted to a Techstars program focused on workforce development and going through that now, which also comes with capital. We have for many years been sponsoring the Startups to Watch event, which I know affects and impacts companies from across the state to gather into Louisville once a year, be celebrated, and take home that trophy, which is a little small sign of all the amazing things that we do, the recognition of the iceberg under the water. One of the things to celebrate that just happened recently, one of our favorite founders, community-driven Stephen Plappert and Logan Perchette, Forecaster, just raised another round of $7 million. And knowing how hard Stephen worked on that round, and a round that a lot of our founders don't get to, quite frankly, that third or fourth larger round that is really hard to get, both local and regional, national investors in that company. And what I love about Forecaster more than anything is their desire to stay in our area, invest in our area, recruit from our area, and build that. We need 100 Stevens. Good Maps is another great one to celebrate. There's been a lot of amazing things for Good Maps. So also go back to Forecast. For those that know, this is SaaS-based forecasting for SaaS-based companies that is very automated and asynchronous. They also have contract CFO services as well. Good Maps, as Teresa Reno-Weber, who is the CEO of that now, 2 Reno-Webers, that was not intentional. It's Google Maps for the indoors. And they have been mapping all types of things. They were at the Winter Olympics. She had a chance to speak at CES, and they're currently starting to do multiple airports in the Southeast. So they continue to grow and climb. If anyone on this call represents a large facility in the state that would love to have people get to things faster, whether that is macaroni and cheese on a shelf or helping visually impaired folks make it to the places they need to go, I'd love to make an introduction to Good Maps. And another celebration to share is one from our own team, Cynthia Lee, who operates as our Director of Events, Community Partnerships. Her other gig, which is a Cindy Sales, won the Kentucky Small Business Advocate of the Year for the whole state. So super proud of her. It just shows the intensity and passion she brings to small business owners, whether it's wearing her Amplify hat or her own company's hat. So some of the programs over the last 6 months that we're proud of, and these represent programs that happened multiple times. One that happened just recently that was so well attended and had this panel for Shattering the Invisible Ceiling, breaking barriers and building the future of women. This was during March, I'm sorry. And this panel of women was just absolutely amazing. I wasn't quite invited, I don't think. No, teasing. But having Dana Bowers from Elizabethtown, Maggie Harlow, Sarah Blackmere, who's new to Louisville and runs an investment firm called Silico Capital, or their office here, and Kimberly Bunton, was just a dynamic group of folks, well attended, well received. Venture Connectors, obviously we've been talking about this quite a bit as we share the work that Amplify has been doing. This is an organization that we took over operating in January of 24 and continues to grow and get better. And this one specifically was a great conversation I was able to have with Trevor Paul, who is the CEO of, it says Louisville Economic Development Alliance. For those of you in the Louisville area, you may now know that is One Louisville. That was a merger between both LIDA and GLI. Trevor just is a bundle of energy, looking to really move the powerhouse of the Louisville economic innovation community forward. He's been a great partner and friend and board member of Amplify's. Speed meetings. Again, this has looked different. We've done this a couple times. This is really how do we get service providers, investors, and stakeholders in a room and literally just like founders go through them quickly. They get an X amount of time to kind of pitch their problem, get some answers, and the amount of follow-up that happens after this is just tremendous. And lastly, in a little bit of Dr. Johnson, Johnson's conversation was a webinar with our friends from GrowthX. I think a lot of us in the state are familiar with them now. With revenue generation being a critical component for any early stage company, leveraging all the power of AI that you heard just previously, just a powerful way for these organizations to scale faster and deploy more resources without having to have a lot of capital or headcount. So we're really excited to have those types of webinars as well. Okay. This part is really, I was thinking through this, like how we show up in the community, because I think it's important to share that like, while we are based in Louisville and we cover the area that we showed, it's important that we all, and I know all the hub leaders do versions of this, that we show up for other organizations that are also supporting business in our communities. Some of these might be statewide, like thankful for the partnership and friendship of Awesome Inc. and the work they do with the Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame, as well as, and they partner with Kentucky Chamber, the Chamber Day, which is all focused on policy. It's great to be in that room and talk about the power of startups and the need to have policies that focus on the well-being and growth of those startups. I mentioned the startups to watch already. That's again, having companies from around the state come in, be able to talk to all of them. How come they might not be able to see our ecosystem very often, but while they're here, how do we wrap our arms around them? The Mentor Monday, this is something that both Jen and Cynthia participate in. Very similar to speed dating, maybe where they even got the idea, but just meeting with a lot of, not just founders, but other women in our community that are looking to build businesses or just build their corporate world. And last was, we recently attended the Louisville Economic Forum, where we had the opportunity, maybe called out to do, but opportunity to share the work that we are doing in our greater Louisville area to support startups, and how, of course, I always take the opportunity to make an ask of how can that room support startups and keep that at the forefront of what they're doing. I want to share a little bit about the team, and a couple of reasons. Several in our community, in the local community, are maybe very familiar with these individuals, seeing them at Venture Connectors or seeing them at other events. These are the ones that if you need something, have a neighbor that needs something, the grocer. I actually had someone recently send me a server they had at a restaurant who had an idea that they were talking about at the table. Come and find us. I mean, this is what we're passionate about. This is what we're here for. If you see us in the community, please introduce yourself if we haven't met you already, or let us know how we can partner and support the things that you're working on. And again, no need to read all the names, but these are the individuals, obviously Jen being the one that we'll talk about more here in a second. Moving forward, things that we're focused on in the end of this, our fiscal year and then into the next year, which is, and a lot of this will come from Jen's leadership, but is Innovation Pod. So this is the concept of how do we make it more systematic for startups to partner with corporations. And so a lot more to come on this topic, but excited about some of the things that are getting built out. Obviously, we know funding is, whether it's revenue or whether it's actually getting investment, we know this is a critical component for the audience in which we support. And we've talked a lot about this as the Abaca platform, but a lot even doubling down, especially over the tough climate over the last couple of years, but doubling down on helping founders not only go through this process, but also how do we help them in a variety of different soft skills, practical skills, workshops, et cetera. And this last piece is something that I'm really excited that Amplify will be focused on, which is innovation verticals. So historically, we've just been very reactive. We have a lot of demand, but we are getting to the point and we're getting enough coverage and support that now we want to start being proactive about the type of verticals we go after. I often get the question, what is Louisville startups known the most for? And in general, I can just use the big pillars that we talk about: healthcare, logistics, et cetera. But more and more, I meet other folks from other sectors that are doing some really incredible work and could be a great opportunity for us to get connected to them, both to help their organizations, but also then connect them to startups. And as I mentioned, all this happens, and I think we made this release not that long ago, that Jenn will become, Jenn, who we've known and has been with Amplify for years, will officially become the executive director as of July 1st. This quote I've said for a long time to anybody to listen: I might be the face, but Jenn is the heart and soul. She probably doesn't know I put this on here, but her passion, she loves, if you ever with her and she sees a dog, she will stop. She loves the outdoors. She's run 27 marathons. She climbs mountains, and of course, she loves to build community. But the whole key to this, and we've said this for a long time, is when we built Amplify from the beginning, the idea was this is bigger than any one of us. And how do we continue this organization regardless of who sits in these chairs? Because that's what our founders deserve and need, and it's what'll help us be sustainable as we go on. So if you see Jenn, if you haven't already congratulated her or high-fived her, please do. She is more than capable to take this over and win. So that leaves my last slide. I don't know if I'm at 7 minutes. Who counts? But so this is my one last high five. So I've done a version of this since 2019. And I'm going to take a little bit to show some gratitude to the folks that might be on this call. First to the state, right? I mean, we know how hard it is for legislators to understand a lot of the work that we do, and the individuals like Lisa and David Brock, and before him, Monique Quarterman, and even Tony Ellis, fighting the fight for startups at a state legislation level is no easy job. Also a shout out to our friend at Terry Samuels. Gosh, sorry, Terry, if you're listening. To my ecosystem family, I jokingly put from Paducah to Pikeville, Bowling Green to Covington, and yes, even our friends in Lexington. That rivalry always exists. Actually, it's been an amazing experience to watch how much my peers across the state have been willing to support me as an individual, amplify, figure out ways to partner. But the most important thing is the ease in which sharing information and supporting of startups and founders has happened. There's no like, oh, no, this is mine. There's no scarcity mindset in this hub network. There's only abundance in how we can help move the state forward and these founders forward. For those in the call that's part of the Amplify and stakeholders and the founders that I've served for the last 7 years, man, we started, I always joke, I was in like this small room at Story Louisville by myself one day, wondering what in the world I was doing. And here we are 7 years later, feeling like a very good, strong single source of truth for our community, a respected partner now, and often asked to be at the table versus me like going like, why aren't we here? And to last, again, to Jenn and my Amplify family, this line could not be more true. And I think Lisa's learned this recently. The rest of Kentucky is about to find out what I've known for years. Amplify is in the best possible hands with Jenn and this team moving forward. And I'm so excited to see what they can do next. I'm not going anywhere, not moving yet. So same phone number. I'm sure they'll let me keep my email address for a little bit. So if you need anything from me, please let me know. I'm always happy to give you bad jokes, and we'll always give high fives when you need it. So that's it for me, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much, Larry. Oh my goodness, you've accomplished so much in these 7 years. You should be proud. You should be glad. I hope you will reflect and just think, well done. We are very, very appreciative. We still have many more farewells with you planned. But thank you so much for your summarization of what this has meant to you. That's important. Always connecting with the why. Why do we do this work day in, day out? And as we have heard, it is not easy work, but it is work that is so very much needed, and we are so grateful for it. So from me to you and for everyone on this call, thank you for all of your time, effort, and supporting your why. We appreciate that. You've shared with us so much inspiration, education, the support necessary to thrive and to grow our statewide tech ecosystem. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. Take care, my friend. All right, very quickly, I will switch back just to review some event rundown here. There we go. These are just a few of the hub focused events that are coming up in the next month. Sprocket's got both their weekly coffee hour as well as their last in their series of their business operating systems. Awesome Inc. Fellowship today is also today. Probably already have started. And they also have their 5 Across pitch competition happening tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. at the Pam Miller Arts Center. You can also join us for all 6 of our innovation hubs giving their quarterly update on their progress and plans going forward. That's tomorrow at 10 a.m. That's virtual. You're welcome to join us. SOAR has their pizza and a pitch coming up this Thursday at 6 over at UPike. Create's got their legal playbook for startups as well as their startup garden happening in the next couple of days. May 6th is Amplify's next venture connectors. They're going to focus on racing, and that is at 11:30 at the Kentucky Science Center. Blue North's got their coffee and co-work later in mid-May happening at Spark House. And you can certainly join us again here next month, always the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 11. So that'll be on May 19th for some more of our Startup Resources series. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful day. And if you see Larry out and about, give him a high five. Thanks. Bye everyone.